Well, it is really great to see everybody here. This is quite a crowd. I worried for a couple of years whether people would come to DC, but you have showed up, and we really appreciate it. We want you to have a terrific time this week. We hope that you pick up a couple things that you can take back to your buildings. But it's also a good time every year at convention to reflect on where we've been and where we're going. When I think about the 4 years that I've been here, most of that time we've been playing defense. We've been playing defense because we've had to. We've been getting attacked from every possible direction. I think all of you will remember right after I first came, we had an 11% Medicare cut. Some of you may have been wondering, why the heck did we hire this guy? I knew that we were in for a lot of work, and to use a phrase from Wizard of Oz, Stacy and I knew that we weren't in Kansas anymore. We had quite a welcome to DC. But that was just the beginning. There were lots of other proposals out there that could have been even worse. In the name of a balanced budget, some wanted to completely eliminate provider assessments. Others wanted to cut us another 4%. And it wasn't just skilled nursing that was under attack, it was assisted living as well. You remember there was a reg out there that would have basically eliminated the use of Medicaid and assisted living. Tens of thousands of people in our buildings would have had to have moved out, and spaces would have just been reserved for the wealthy. It's not an overstatement to say that our survival was at risk. And so we played defense because we had to. But to our credit, we did not give up. At the Las Vegas convention 3 years ago, we made the commitment to each other that we wouldn't back down, and we didn't. Instead of fighting amongst ourselves and becoming divided, we actually became stronger. And as I stand before you today, I'm happy to say that we are at all-time record membership, both with skilled nursing, assisted living, for-profit, not-for-profit, big, small, large, you name it. We are at record levels. We've come together. And we also became the solution. On the quality side, we created the quality division at AHCA NCAL. We hired the great Dr. Gifford and his team, and they and you created the quality initiative, and the results speak for themselves. Thousands of buildings like the one you just saw have improved their quality metrics around the country. We became the solution on policy. Instead of just saying no, no, no to everything, we took real solutions up to CMS and to the Hill. And we became a political and lobbying powerhouse. We hired every big-name lobbyist in town so that we wouldn't be at the back of the 7,000 associations in the line. We'd be more towards the front. And we've doubled and tripled our political efforts so that when you combine our good policy with our deep political activity, we now have real champions on the Hill. So what's been the result of all this over the last 4 years? Well, the result has been that we have been winning. One by one, we've been knocking down, by playing defense, all of the attacks that have come at us. We defeated the attempts to reduce the provider tax. We defeated the proposal for the 4% cut. We defeated the horrible assisted living regulation. And so the question becomes now, what do we do next? And the answer is that now it's time to go on offense. It's time to take our newfound strength and go on offense. And that's because there are new risks that simply paying defense will not beat. On the skilled nursing side, it's new payment models. It turns out that there are a lot of people that want to take control of our payment. Somehow all these groups out there that never see our residents, don't care about them 1/10 as much as we do, somehow know more about how to take care of them than we do. Whether it's managed care or accountable care organizations or dual bundles, they all have things in common. Reduction in length of stay, reduction in rate, exclusion of providers, and nothing good for our residents. If we just sit back and wait and see which of these new models catches on, it's not going to turn out well. The alternative is that we must play offense. Peter Drucker put it this way. He said the best way to predict the future is to create it. The best way to predict the future is to create it. And that is what we have to do. When it comes to payment models, we need to continue the work of our chairman, Lynn Rusk, and the Payment Review Task Force. We need to create our own model. We need to create a model that works for all of our members and that works for our residents, and then we need to get it implemented. But it's not just skilled nursing that needs to play offense. It's also assisted living. There are still those in this town who believe that we need a regulatory system of assisted living that's just as bad or maybe worse than the federal regs on skilled nursing. And there are others who would like to make the regs on skilled nursing even worse. I will tell you that overregulation is the enemy of person-centered care. Thank you. Overregulation forces us to work on things that don't matter, and worse, it forces us to spend less time on the things that really do matter. I believe in person-centered care. When Stacy and I opened up our first facility, it was 42 units, assisted living. The term person-centered care, I don't know if it had been invented yet, we didn't know it, but it's what we try to do in our buildings. We try to take care of our residents on their terms and not on ours. We tried to make it very special. We were independent owners, so we had lots of jobs. One of my jobs was landscaping. I would mow the yard and plant the flowers and the trees and take care of everything. One day I was sitting in one of our residents' rooms named Myrna. Myrna told me that she liked red flowers. And she had a room that overlooked our front garden. So every spring, after the final frost, I would plant red marigolds. And they would stay in bloom throughout the summer. And then when the first frost would come along and they would die, I would plant red mums. And those would last until about Thanksgiving. And then when those would die off, I would plant red tulip bulbs that would bloom in the spring. I did that because on as many days as possible, I wanted Myrna to be able to look out her window and see red flowers. Stacy, in title, was our chief financial officer. But in reality, she did everything. Mainly what she did was she brought happiness. I would watch her work with the residents and our employees, and it was a beautiful thing. She had a lot of activities. One of them was called chocolate-covered poetry. You can take this idea, it's a good idea. She would read the residents' poems, serve them chocolates that she had bought from chocolatiers in Kansas City. They would all come. I mean, for me to watch this was beautiful. Stacy came to me and she said, "This is amazing. The residents really like poetry." And I said, "Stacy, they don't like poetry. They like chocolate." Do you think Walter really liked poetry? You remember Walter. They like chocolate, but mainly they liked hanging around Stacy. I tell you that because as special as the care was in that building, it is not unique. There are thousands of buildings across the country providing that care at this very moment in just that very special way. And it's not just assisted living. It's skilled nursing that has embraced person-centered care as well. I tell you that because I want you to clearly understand that Stacy and I did not move our family out to Washington, D.C. We did not tear up 150 years of family roots in Kansas to come out to Washington and see that taken away from you and taken away from your residents. To those who would believe that they are going to enact a federal regulatory scheme on assisted living and further burden our skilled nursing members, my message is simple. It is not going to happen on my watch. It is not going to happen. For us to make bold statements like that, though, they don't mean anything unless we put them into action, unless we go on offense. And there's a price. It's not easy. There are no shortcuts. There is a price involved. There is a price in terms of resources. So we need all of you to continue to support our state associations, continue to be members. If you have some facilities that aren't members, or if you're members in one state or not another, it's time to end all that and join everyone so that we can bring the maximum possible resources to this battle. There is a price in terms of political activity. We need you to continue to be involved with your state association on political activity, with our federal PAC, to work with us to get your state legislators and your members of Congress in your buildings. We've got to tell our story. And most important, there is a price in terms of quality. Our buildings are a reflection of us. They tell people about who we are. We have to make a commitment to ourselves that we will make every one of our buildings a shining example of what we are all about. Now, when we do all these things, we won't have to stand in line with all the other sectors just waiting to be cut. You know, whenever there's a budget cut in DC, where they cut healthcare providers, I go to the association heads that have won to try to figure out what they did that succeeded. And then the folks that got cut, I go and talk with their CEOs to try to figure out what happened. It's amazing how many times CEOs will say, well, it was just our turn. It was just our turn to get cut. But you know how often I think it's our turn to get an indiscriminate Medicare or Medicaid cut? You know how often I think it's our turn? Never. It is never our turn. We've been cut enough. Further cuts just hurt people like Myrna and George and all the people that we took care of and the millions of people that are near in buildings, your employees. And when is the right time to hurt them? The right time is never. So when we do all these things, when we go on offense, when we set the agenda, we won't have to stand in line. We won't have to sit around and guess about what's going to happen in the future. We won't have to worry about whether this will still be a great business for our kids and grandkids. We won't have to worry about the future because we are going to create it. And on behalf of all the staff at AHCA NCAL, I can't thank you enough for the opportunity to work with you on this important mission. Thank you all very much.